Leo sat alone in the dark hallway of Outpost 46, a small, forgotten station on the edge of the dead zone. Space outside the window was quiet, cold, and endless. Nothing ever happened here. No ships came. No people visited. His job was to check old communication systems, repair broken panels, and send daily status logs to a command center that hadn't replied in years. But tonight, something was different. It began with a soft sound, a faint buzzing in his headset. Leo leaned forward, thinking it was just static. He turned the dial, adjusting the frequency slowly. Crackling, buzz, silence. Then, a voice, faint, broken, like it was trapped between dimensions. Only one message survived. Listen, before they silence you too. Leo froze. Wait, what was that? He whispered to himself, his heart pounding. He replayed the signal, but it was almost gone now, covered by noise. He pulled out an old recorder and saved the last few seconds of the strange message. He felt a cold shiver run down his spine. This was not a normal transmission. He rushed to the control room, a small space filled with dusty consoles and blinking lights. The AI assistant, named Juno, floated on a broken holo display above the desk. Juno, Leo said, I just picked up something weird. Play all recent transmissions from the last hour. Juno's voice was calm, almost sleepy. Reviewing. One unknown signal detected. Do you want to decrypt? Yes, Leo replied. Pressing buttons quickly, the audio returned. There, in a light. They're watching. We didn't survive. You still can. Then silence. No ID. No origin. Just fear inside every word. Who is this? Leo whispered. Who sent this? Suddenly, the room flickered. The lights dimmed for a second. The screens went black. Then they blinked back on again, slower than before. Leo stared at the message log. It was being deleted. The message, the whole recording, was vanishing in front of him. What the no, no, no. He shouted, slamming the keyboard. Juno, stop the deletion. Juno didn't respond. Leo looked up. The AI's image had vanished. All that remained on the screen was a spinning white circle. Then, on the main monitor, a face appeared. But it wasn't clear. It was made of light and shadow, flickering like a flame. It had no mouth, no eyes, just a blurry shape. It said nothing. It just watched. Leo backed away slowly. This isn't real. This can't be real. He grabbed his data pad and ran to the storage room. He needed a backup drive. He had to save the message before it disappeared completely. Maybe someone out there needed to hear it. Maybe someone was warning him. His hands trembled as he copied the last fragments onto the device. The woman's voice echoed again in his mind. Only one message survived. He had no idea who she was, but her voice felt human, sad, brave. Then, the room's air system shut off. The soft hum of oxygen flow was gone. The station became deathly quiet. No fans, no beeping, no background noise, just pure, silent tension. Suddenly, he heard a soft footstep behind him, but he was alone, or at least he had been. He turned slowly. No one was there. Then his console screen lit up on its own. The same flickering face appeared, closer now, clearer, still without a mouth. And then, the words appeared on the screen. Tap one by one. Stop listening. Leo's hands shook. He closed the console, pulled the backup drive close to his chest. Sweat rolled down his temple. He knew one thing. This wasn't just a broken signal. It was a warning, and someone, or something, didn't want him to hear it. As he stepped into the hallway, emergency lights turned red. The stations. I was silent, and the stars outside started to fade. Not blink. Not dim. Vanish. One by one. It was like someone, or something, was turning off the sky. Leo stood frozen, staring out into the darkness. The voice repeated in his head. Only one message survived. Listen before they silence you too. And deep down, Leo realized he had already been heard. And a part one. Leo's boots echoed across the metal floor as he ran back into the main chamber of Outpost 46. The red emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. Every corner felt alive, not with movement, but with presence. Something invisible, watching, waiting. He didn't know where to go. The outpost had only a few rooms, a control deck, a sleeping pod, a storage bay, and the radio tower above. No one else lived here. No guards, no crew, just Leo, and now something else. He clutched the small drive in his hand. The last copy of the message. Only one message survived. Listen before they silence you too. He couldn't shake her voice from his head. It felt like it was meant for him, like she was still alive, whispering across time. But then something new happened. His headset turned on by itself. Leo, a voice said. He froze. Juno. He whispered. Afraid. But it wasn't Juno. It was his own voice. Leo. Stop listening, the voice said again, calm, cold, as if someone was copying his speech. A perfect imitation. Then it said something else. You are not alone. He dropped the headset and backed away. This is impossible, Leo whispered. Hey, I can't do that. Can't use my voice like. But the screen lit up. His own face appeared, recorded from earlier in the day, blinking on a security camera, except this version was smiling strangely. Then, static dot suddenly. A loud crashing noise came from the hallway, a long, metal screech, like a heavy door, being forced open. Leo's breathing quickened. He grabbed a small flashlight and headed toward the sound. He moved slowly, the red lights making everything look like blood. He passed by the communications room. The door was open, though he had shut it minutes ago. Inside, the computer was playing the message again, without his command. He entered carefully. The woman's voice came through the static. They hide in the signals. They travel through thought, through light, through sound. We thought we could study them. We were wrong. Now we only run. Leo leaned closer. Her voice was broken, but growing clearer with each second. They erased my colony. I watched it happen. People forgot their own names. Parents forgot their children. Then the stars vanished, and then they came. Suddenly, the lights in the room turned green. Not red, not white. Green, sickly, artificial. Then a drone dropped from the ceiling. It wasn't active before. Leo had never even seen it move. It hovered silently, facing him. Its camera lens turned red. It scanned him. Then, using his voice again, it said, "Stop the playback. Delete the message, or we will delete you." Leo took a slow step back, hands raised. "I don't know who you are," he said, voice shaking. "But I didn't do anything wrong. I just found the message." The drone responded instantly. Exactly. Suddenly, it shot a spark at the console, burning out the screen. The woman's voice cut off mid-sentence. The room filled with smoke. Leo coughed, waving his hand in front of his face. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. He dashed out of the room, clutching the backup drive tight. He didn't stop running until he reached the upper tower. The glass dome above let him see space all around, but the stars were dim. No, they were fading again, just like before. He placed the drive into the emergency uplink system and connected it to the long-range transmitter. But the system needed time to boot. It hadn't been used in years. As the screen loaded, the outpost trembled. Another crash below. Something was inside now. Something walking. Leo tried to steady his hands. On the transmitter screen, the drives. Data blinked. File found. Audio. Final warning. Earth Archive 2049 of ER. He hit play. The woman's voice returned. This time, it was clearer. If you are hearing this, they know where you are. They will come for you too. Leo's eyes widened. She continued, they erased Earth. Not with bombs, not with guns, but with forgetting, with silence, one by one, until no one remembered what Earth was, until no one remembered they existed. They are not destroyers. They are erasers. Just then, the floor above Creek. Leo turned. There was no one there, but he saw a shadow on the glass, moving across the stars. Then he saw it, a figure, not made of flesh, not fully light, not fully shadow, something in between, floating, watching, and it was getting closer. The console flashed a warning. Transmission blocked. Interference detected. Leo screamed in frustration. He looked back down at the main hallway. He had one choice left. He had to reach the old manual uplink station, buried deep in the lower levels. But to get there, he'd have to pass through whatever had just entered his outpost. He took a deep breath, held the drive tighter, looked back one last time at the dying star's dot, and then he ran. Leo ran down the narrow steel corridor, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The emergency lights flickered above him, red, then dark, then red again. Every shadow seemed to move. Every sound felt like footsteps. But worst of all, he couldn't hear the hum of the station anymore. No air systems, No cooling fans. Not even the distant clicking of circuits. Just silence. A heavy, unnatural silence. And still, he held the small drive tight in his palm, like it was the only thing keeping him alive. They hide in the light. They traveled through sound. The voice had said, "They are not machines. They are not spirits. They are something worse." He reached the old maintenance shaft and slid down the ladder, his gloves burning against the rungs. At the bottom was a forgotten room, manual comms Bay 09, dusty, cold, and untouched in years. As he entered, the door closed behind him on its own. Click. He jumped. The control panel was dim, but still working. A miracle. He plugged the drive in and started the boot sequence. This old comms system didn't need a satellite signal. It used beamline frequency, hard to trace, hard to block. If anything could send the warning, this was it. While the console loaded, Leo sat back and caught his breath. His suit was damp with sweat, his throat dry, but he had no time to rest. The screen blinked. Playback ready. He hesitated. Was he really ready to hear more? He pressed play. The woman's voice returned, clearer now than ever before. Almost. To clear, "My name is Commander Vale. I was stationed on Earth Colony Theta 7. We were scientists, explorers. We discovered something buried in an asteroid belt. A black object, not metal, not stone. It hummed. It whispered." Leo leaned forward. There was something odd in her voice. It wasn't just fear. It was pain, memory. "We took it back. That was our first mistake. We ran tests, sent signals. That was the second. Then our minds changed. We forgot names. We forgot time. My team disappeared. Not dead. Just gone." She paused, then said something that sent cold through Leo's spine. "I don't remember my own face anymore." Then the screen flickered. Leo stared. In the corner of the frame, just behind her shoulder, was a shape, faint, like static made into form. He paused the video, zoomed in. His stomach twisted. It wasn't fully there. It had no clear outline, just a flickering blur. But inside the distortion, there were eyes. Not normal eyes, too many eyes. Too small, too still, and they were staring right at the camera. At him. Suddenly, the screen turned to black. Text appeared in red. "Stop looking." Leo yanked out the drive, heart racing. He stepped back, and the screen flickered back on by itself. This time, it showed his own image. Live, a security cam feed. He was watching himself from above, from a camera in the corner of the room. He waved his hand. The image didn't wave back. His chest went cold. "What the hell?" He whispered. Then the image smiled. He didn't smile. The image of himself smiled on its own, and in a slow, calm voice, using his exact tone. The screen spoke. "You saw them." Leo stumbled back, crashing into a chair. The lights turned blue, then green, then off. Complete darkness. He felt the air grow cold. And then a sound. Not a scream, not a whisper. It was the crackling of static inside his own ears, like something was crawling through the wires of his mind. He dropped to the floor, hands over his head. "Stop. Get out of my head." But the voice continued. "You are a signal now. Like her. Like us." Suddenly, Leo saw flashes in his mind. Not memories, not dreams, but images. Earth, empty. Cities overgrown. Skies gray. Billboards, blank. People walking like shadows, no faces. Then, the object, floating, turning slowly. Black and endless. Like it swallowed reality. Then he heard her voice again. Vale's voice. Different this time. Not recorded. "Live. Leo. If you hear me, run." He opened his eyes. A glowing symbol had appeared on the wall, a perfect circle made of shifting static. It pulsed softly, as if alive. And then the air behind him bent. Not moved, not shook. Bent, like gravity had twisted, like something was arriving through space that didn't follow normal laws. He didn't turn. He couldn't. But he heard it. Breathing. Right behind his neck. Long, deep, slow. And then a whisper, not from a mouth, but from inside his skull. "You saw the face in the static." The light snapped back on. Nothing there. Just silence again. The wall was clean, the symbol gone. But Leo knew. He wasn't alone anymore. Not truly. He grabbed the drive, shoved it into his chest pocket, and as he turned to leave, the screen behind him lit up once more, showing just one message. They know your name now. Leo didn't remember opening the door. He just remembered running. His boots hit the steel floor like thunder. The long hallway of sublevel to stretched ahead, glowing in broken strips of white and red light. Every few seconds, they flickered, and in those flickers, Leo swore he saw shapes, not solid, not real, but there, dot behind him, the voice still, whispered, soft, low, and inside his mind. You saw us, you heard her, that is enough. He pressed both hands against his ears and kept running. He didn't care where he was going anymore. He just knew he had to get away, away from the voice, away from the flickering shadows, away from whatever twisted things had entered the outpost. He found himself outside the ancient archive room, long sealed and covered in dust. No one had touched it in years. He'd once joked it was a grave for old Earth files. Now it felt more like a tomb, but the control panel blinked green when he touched it. He hadn't even entered a code. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was pitch dark, until the lights slowly flickered to life, one by one, as if waking from a long sleep. The room wasn't large, maybe the size of a garage, but filled with rows of old servers. Books in plastic cases, data cores stacked like bones, and a giant central screen coated in digital dust. Leo stepped inside. He was expecting silence. Instead, the screen powered on by itself. Lines of text scrolled across it. Earth Archive accessed. User recognized. Leo Malik, registered technician. 3rd class. Welcome back. Leo blinked. What do you mean welcome back? He whispered. I've never been here before. But the system didn't answer. Instead, the room lights dimmed, and the woman's voice, Vale, returned again. But this time she wasn't afraid. She sounded calm, older, like she'd been waiting. Hello, if you're seeing this, you followed the signal. That means you're still human, or what's left of one. Leo leaned closer to the screen, holding his breath. This archive holds what remains of Earth. Memories, names, songs, paintings, everything that made us us, before they came, before they erased our story from the stars. The screen showed blurry images, cities, oceans, skyscrapers, people smiling, children, laughing, then black smoke, then silence, then stillness. Leo saw a picture of a family in front of a house and recognized the shape of the house. It was his dot, or at least, it looked like it. They came when we spoke their name, Vale said. We didn't understand the rules. We saw them as energy. We tried to measure them, contain them, broadcast them. But they were never meant to be understood. The images on screen changed. Maps of solar systems. Circles drawn around certain stars. They silence any voice that reveals them. She continued. They feed on attention, on memory. They don't destroy your body. They destroy the story of you. Leo stepped back. It all made sense now. Why the outpost had gone quiet. Why stars were blinking out. Why he couldn't remember the names of his childhood friends anymore. The more he listened, the more he forgot. He was becoming part of the static. Suddenly, a small panel opened on the far wall of the room. A drawer extended out slowly, without sound. Inside was an old device, a black capsule with a single blue light. A label blinked beside it. Final beacon, for manual launch only. Contains Earth Core Memory Archive plus Warning Protocol. Destination ANY. Leo reached in and picked it up. The moment his fingers touched it, a memory hit him like a wave. Not his memory, Vale's. He saw flashes, a young woman in a lab, a spinning black object floating midair, her team vanishing, one by one, her running through the forest, chased by light that wasn't light, screaming, recording the message, uploading herself. She had died inside a machine, but part of her had lived, inside the signal, inside the message. Now inside him. Leo staggered back, heart racing. You're not just a voice, he muttered. You're alive. The woman's voice came again, softer this time. Not alive, but not erased. Not yet. I gave myself to the signal, so the message would survive, so someone would remember, and you did. You remembered. That's all it takes. Leo felt his eyes water. He wasn't brave. He wasn't strong. He was just a boy with a simple job on a forgotten outpost. But he had one thing no one else did. He remembered. And now he had the beacon, the last piece of Earth. Suddenly, every screen in the archive turned black, and a new message appeared, burned in white light. We remember you too. Leo looked up, and the wall beside him melted. Not physically, Not with heat. It just changed. Like reality had been rewritten. Through the new opening, Leo saw the hallway. It wasn't empty. A shape waited there. Tall, featureless, almost human. Almost not. It pulsed with silence. Then it took a slow step forward, and the lights behind Leo faded one by one. But the beacon in his hands, it glowed brighter. He had one shot to launch it, one path to reach the manual escape shaft and send the warning out into the galaxy. But first, he had to get past the thing in the hall, and it knew he was coming. Leo's hand shook as he gripped the glowing beacon tighter. The small device pulsed in his palm like a heartbeat, warm, steady, and very alive. Behind him, the Earth archive room had gone completely dark. Only the emergency light on the beacon still glowed. Ahead, the hallway stretched long and narrow. Cold steam hissed from broken pipes. The steel floor was wet, not with water, but a shimmering silver mist. As if light had melted, it leaked from the walls, and in the middle of the hallway, it stood tall, still, watching. But it had no eyes, no face, just a form made of bending light, like a reflection that had climbed out of a mirror and learned to walk. Leo didn't breathe. He didn't blink. He just stared. It tilted its head. That was when he realized something horrifying. It wasn't breathing either, because it didn't need to. Suddenly, the walls around it rippled like heat on metal. But this wasn't heat. It was something wrong. The shape was twisting reality just by standing in it. It erases by being seen. Vale had said, it doesn't kill with weapons. It kills with silence. With forgetting, Leo took a slow step backward, heart slamming inside his chest. But the shape moved with him, not walking, not floating, but bending space as it came closer. Stay back, Leo whispered, holding up the beacon like a torch. The light flared brighter. For a second, the creature paused. The floor beneath, it shimmered, and Leo saw the stars outside the hallway vanish, one by one, behind the shape. Not blocked, not covered. Deleted like someone had used an eraser on the universe. That's when Leo knew, if he didn't act now, if he hesitated, even for a breath, he would disappear too, not die, be forgotten. He turned and ran. His feet pounded the floor, echoing like gunfire through the halls. The shape didn't chase with footsteps, but the lights ahead of him started flickering in sequence, like the outpost itself was being rewritten behind him. As it moved, get to the launch bay, Vale's voice echoed in his mind. It can't stop the old systems. They're manual, analog. The light can't live there. Leo sprinted through the sleeping quarters. Beds were rotting. Walls had writing scratched in them. Don't look at the light. I can't remember her name. It's inside the reflection. He didn't stop. Not even when the hallway shook beneath him. Not even when he heard whispers coming from the shadows. Voices that sounded like his mother. His best friend. His own voice. Calling him back. Telling him to just stop and rest. But Leo knew better. Those weren't people. They were echoes. He crashed into the old launch bay door. It was sealed shut, manual lock, rusted from years of dust and cold air. He dropped to his knees, yanking open the panel. The manual override required a crank key, long lost, but Leo had tools. He pulled out his wrench and jammed it into the opening, turned. It didn't fit. Turned harder. The wrench bent. The beacon in his pocket glowed hotter, almost in pain. Then, a scream. Not human. Not alien. Something in between, like a radio frequency feeling pain. He turned. It was coming. Faster now. The hallway behind him went dark, completely black, like a curtain of nothingness sweeping forward. One more twist. The lock popped. The door slammed open. He stumbled into the launch bay. Inside was a small single-seat pod, dusty, cracked, but powered. The glass canopy was half-fogged. Controls were analog. Buttons, levers, wires. Perfect. He threw the beacon into the slot beside the launch core. The system blinked. Payload detected. Archive attached. Manual launch ready. But the pod needed power. The old battery had failed years ago. Backup cells, Vale whispered in his memory. Right side panel. Use your own spark. The suit's emergency fuse. Leo ripped open the side panel. Connected to broken wires to the fuse under his arm. Sparks flew. The suit systems died instantly, but the pod lit up. Countdown. 20 seconds. He turned to close the hatch and saw the light creature at the bay door. No sound. No movement. Just presence. It didn't move like a person. It unfolded. Tall as the ceiling. Its limbs were made of pulsing distortion. Where it stood, the walls behind it disappeared. It was deleting everything. And now it looked at him, not with eyes, but with knowing. Leo pulled the canopy closed. It pressed its hand against the glass. The glass didn't crack. It froze, like it was being rewritten from matter to memory. Leo hit launch. The pod roared to life. Fire and steam erupted. The creature screamed, that same radio scream, full of rage and silence. The launch platform dropped. Leo shot into the dark. Space stretched around him. Stars returned. And behind him, Outpost 46 crumbled into static. Not debris, static. And then silence, only the hum of the pod and the soft voice of Vale, now clearer than ever. Leo, you did it. The signal will spread now. The memory of Earth will survive. And so will you, as long as you remember. Leo looked down at the Earth beacon. It pulsed once more. And then, through the glass, a new star blinked into view. Not one he recognized, but maybe, just maybe, someone was listening. Leo floated in silence. The pod sailed through dark space, away from the wreckage of Outpost 46, away from the thing that erased, away from the voice that whispered inside his mind. For the first time in what felt like hours, or maybe days, everything was still. No more flickering lights, no more bending shadows, no more glass turning to memory. Just stars, real stars, and the hum of the last working system inside the escape pod. But he was not safe, not yet. He looked at the Earth beacon. The small device glowed a soft blue in the corner of the pod, its signal cycling slowly. Inside it, the voice of Commander Vale, the final memory archive of Earth, and one universal warning, only one message. Survived? Listen before they silence you two. Leo reached toward the control panel. It was cracked. One side melted slightly from the emergency power surge, but the broadcast system still showed a green light. Signal range, limited. Target, nearest beacon stations. Ready to transmit. He pressed the button, but the screen blinked red. Signal blocked, interference detected. His stomach sank. No, he whispered, not again. He tried rerouting the signal, switched the manual frequency, tried boosting it with the emergency solar reserve. Still blocked. Then he noticed something terrifying outside the pod, to the left, far in the distance. One of the stars disappeared, then another, one by one, by one. Now like a sunset, like someone turning off switches on a control board. They're still following me, Leo whispered. Even out here. His breath fogged the cracked glass. The pod's temperature was dropping, power was low, and he knew what would happen next. He'd vanish too, unless he acted now. He pulled up the manual burst channel, a one-time use system that launched a signal like a flare. It couldn't be jammed, but it could only be used once. One direction, one chance. Leo looked at the screen. The AI in the pod asked, choose message format. He hesitated. He could just send the archive file, just upload the data. But something deep inside told him that wasn't enough. It didn't matter if no one felt it. No one listened to raw code. They needed to hear him, to know this wasn't just a warning. It was a final cry from a dying past. So he turned on the mic, took a deep breath, and began to speak. My name is Leo Malik. I'm from Earth Outpost 46. If you're hearing this, it means I made it out, but just barely. Something is out here, something old, something silent, something that doesn't kill you like a monster. It kills you by removing you from memory, from time, from existence. They don't burn worlds. They don't invade. They just erase, and no one remembers they were there. He paused. His throat tightened. Earth is gone, not destroyed, forgotten. Entire planets, people, names turned into static. But one voice survived, a woman named Commander Vale. She gave up her mind, her soul, to become a signal, a message, a ghost in the wires. I found her, or maybe she found me. She helped me remember. The mic crackled softly. Leo swallowed, trying to keep his voice from shaking. I was just a technician. I fixed wires. I swept empty rooms. I wasn't a hero. But when the message came through, when I heard her voice, I knew if I didn't act, no one would remember Earth. Not the music, not the stories, not the people we loved. So I ran. I survived, and now I'm sending this to you, not just as a warning, but as proof that we were here, that we mattered, Leo reached down and tapped the final command. Begin transmission. The beacon lit up. Not blue, but gold. A blinding light filled the pod, and with it, the entire archive began uploading across the stars in every direction. Images, sounds, music, laughter, art, stories, faces. The echo of Earth. And with it, the warning, they hide in light, in sound, in memory. The more you look, the more they erase. Stay hidden, stay quiet. But remember, we existed. We were human. We told stories, and we fought to be remembered. The screen blinked. Transmission sent. Beacon launched. Signal split across 47 relays. Then silence. Leo slumped back in his seat. He had done it. Even if he disappeared, someone, somewhere, would know. He looked out the window. Far away, a distant moon glowed softly. A small, silver light moved across its surface. A station? A ship? A listener? He didn't know, but in that moment, he smiled, because the message was out. In a far-off system, many light years away, a child alien pressed a button on her learning console. It flickered. A voice came through, a human voice. My name is Leo Malik. If you're hearing this, it means I made it out. She listened, eyes wide, heart still, and for the first time in her life, she heard the story of Earth. The stars had shifted. For centuries, they had burned in silence, watched by empires and explorers. But now, something new moved between them. Not a ship, not a fleet, a message. The signal carried no weapons, no demands, just a voice, a young voice, a human voice. One that said, my name is Leo Malik. I'm from Earth Outpost 46, and this is the last thing I remember. That signal traveled light year after light year, passing through old satellites, dead listening posts, forgotten colonies, broken machines still waiting for orders that would never come. It echoed in the emptiness, and then it was heard. Sector 89 Delta, Moon Colony Relith. Listening station number 3, a pale-skinned girl with glowing green eyes sat in the dusty learning room of her school. She was small, curious, and quiet, always listening, always dreaming. Today, the console glitched. She poked it. A strange icon appeared. Earth Archive, emergency memory beacon. She had never heard of Earth. She tapped play, and Leo's voice spoke for the first time in over 130 years. Her teacher entered the room, confused. What is that, Tella? The girl pointed. It's a story, she whispered, from someone who's gone. The teacher approached. The screen showed an image, a blue planet, spinning with clouds and oceans. Then another image, a boy in a jumpsuit, alone in a broken space station. Then came the voice of Commander Vale. They hide in light, in thought, in sound. But if you remember, they lose. The teacher didn't blink. She remembered those words. She had once dreamed them, years ago, but she had forgotten. Until now. Vast outer region. Deep sky drifter vessel, Wanderlight Captain Elrose sat in the bridge of his rusted ship, sipping recycled coffee and watching stars blink in and out. He lost half his crew to madness after a signal sweep gone wrong. They heard something, then forgot why they screamed. He stopped checking signals after that. Until today. The panel lit up. New beacon detected. Human origin. Priority alert. Humans. Or myths. Ghosts of war. A species that vanished long ago. He tapped the console. The voice of Leo filled the cabin. For a moment, Elrose forgot the cold. He forgot the years. He remembered hope. Galactic Archive Command. Council of Memory Preservation. A room of minds. Human, alien, machine. Sat in silence as the signal played on a dozen screens. Words, sounds, stories, laughter, pain, triumph. We were human. We told stories. We fought to be remembered. The head curator, an ancient entity known only as Miritan, closed her many eyes and whispered, someone has reawakened a broken history. The others leaned forward. Is it true? One asked, is this signal real? Miritan nodded. And for the first time in millennia, Earth was entered back into the records. But not everyone was pleased. Far beyond the reach of stars. Past gravity, past time, inside the nothing between dimensions, they stirred, they felt it. The broadcast, a memory too loud to ignore, they had erased. Earth, erased Vale, almost erased Leo, but he had spoken. He had remembered. And now, others did too. This was unacceptable. From the shadow between galaxies, they moved, Not like ships, not like creatures, but like thoughts that could destroy thoughts. And they searched. For the boy, Leo floated in the dead escape pod, power nearly drained, oxygen low, his body weak, but his eyes open. He stared at the stars, stars that should have vanished, but hadn't. They stayed, because someone, somewhere, still remembered. The beacon blinked softly, sending out fragments every few minutes. It wasn't much, but enough to keep the story alive. He smiled weakly. He didn't know what planet he was near. He didn't care. He had done what needed to be done. That was when the light changed. Not outside, inside. A warm, soft glow filled the pod, like moonlight. And from the console, Vale's voice whispered again. Leo, I held the signal until you arrived. You gave it life again, and now the pod shook gently. Outside, a ship blinked into view, sleek, golden, glowing with memory tech. Not warship, not drone. Responder docked with the pod. The doors opened. A tall figure stepped in, not human, but close, pale silver skin, eyes like old stars. A young alien girl followed behind him. The same girl who had found the story in school. She looked at Leo. You're real, she said. Softly, you're really real. Leo nodded, barely able to speak. Why did you come? He managed. She smiled and held up a small device, now glowing with the same beacon signal. Because you remembered us first. In time, the story of Earth was spread across galaxies. People sang the songs again, watched the old videos, read the old books, told their children the names of those who were lost. The things that hunted in silence retreated, because memory was loud, because stories were stronger than fear, because forgetting only wins if no one speaks. And somewhere, deep in the archives of the universe, under a title marked Humanity, Lost and Found, was a name carved into light. Leo Malik, the boy who remembered, and the message, before they silence you, speak.